Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as temperatures are generally cooling down for all, as we do have that very hot air getting swept away. Still a bit humid in the east over the next couple of days, but for most temperatures mid-20s or lower, and we're going to see increasing amounts of precipitation with that westerly flow. As we head into the longer range, still a lot of uncertainty for the second half of August, but one thing we have seen cropping up in the models over the last few days is the potential impacts or remnants of tropical storms and hurricanes out in the North Atlantic. Now, it is typical this time of year, the Atlantic hurricane season starts to get going. It happens every year. We always have these same issues, and it looks like there could be one of these systems. Tropical storm Ernesto could get mixed up within the jet stream into the final week or so of August. We'll have to keep a very close eye on it, and we'll continue to look at it and the longer range runs in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, as you start on the live radar, you can see there's quite a lot of rain around actually through this evening, recording this around 9 PM, and that's because we're seeing a cold front slowly sweeping eastwards in multiple kind of batches. You can see there's multiple areas of rain and thunderstorms through northern and western Europe, as eventually that incredibly hot air gets swept away. Now, if you focus on the precipitation over the British Isles, luckily we've not got thunderstorms that are out across Netherlands and Belgium, but got a bit of rain across East Anglia and some more widespread heavier rain across northwest England, stretching all the way down to the south coast. Now, this will slowly break up and transition further northwards and eastwards as we do start to see that slow transition towards cooler conditions. We can see that if we put on the temperatures. Still very hot across northern Europe. Look towards northern Germany, up towards Denmark. Temperatures still into the high 20s this evening. And you can see out to the eastern parts of the UK, still warm and humid, still feeling pretty stuffy, but it is cooling down from the west. As I said, still could be slightly humid over the next couple of days. We do see a slight resurgence in warmer air with a warm sector. Nothing anywhere near as hot as we saw early this week, but some warm air, above average air moving in for Thursday. Temperatures could get back towards the mid-20s for then. Now, do look at the latest UKV. If we start on the precipitation, you can see that rain slowly heading northwards and eastwards overnight tonight, and it should hopefully clear by Wednesday afternoon, that is. You can see a few pop-up showers in places, but generally a dry day. And then as we head into Thursday, we see some warmer air returning in the south, but heavier rain in the north, as with that warm air we get more moisture, and then a cold front sweeps it away, and that brings all that heavy rain. As we're into Thursday afternoon, the south and the east is pleasant, warm, and a bit of sunshine. The north, though, lots of heavy rain. We'll transition further southwards through the evening into Friday, and by Friday afternoon, it all clears and actually looks much better. Into the weekend, again, doesn't look too bad. Dry conditions, but not terribly warm. And the same can be said for Sunday, where there's bits and bobs of rain around, but actually not too bad. You can see the temperatures are much cooler. That very hot air is getting swept away at the moment. We are still hovering around average over the next couple of days, and there's a brief resurgence in warmth for Thursday, so we do see a warm sector appearing, but it really is a warm sector. You can see already the cool air emerging in the northwest by Thursday afternoon, and that warm air does get swept away as we head into Friday, and you can see that we do end up back towards average or below average air as we head into the weekend. Now, do look at the max temperature. You see this afternoon just about touching the 30-degree mark in the far east, but if we do go over to net weather, you can see actually the top temperature here was 27 to 29, so still very hot, still very warm, nowhere near as hot as Monday though, and it is going to be cooler once again into Wednesday. If you go back to the UKV, you can see as we transition to Wednesday, still warm, humid and stuffy in the east, and by Wednesday afternoon still could be warm in places, 25, 26 is possible, and into Thursday, still in the east, we could see a 25, 26, slightly more widespread with that warmer sector, and then slowly into Friday, we all go into slightly cooler air, low 20s at best. The same can be said for Saturday and for Sunday. So into the weekend, still warm, looking fairly dry, but much more pleasant temperatures towards average for the time of year, towards those low 20s. Now, if you transition to have a look at the longer range, I do want to start over at the NHC, something we've not had a look at probably in almost a year since last hurricane season. This is the first major system that's going to really impact kind of the Bermuda area, potentially getting caught up in the jet stream. Of course, we had a tropical storm over parts of eastern United States last week where the main impact was rainfall. This system looks like it could be very strong winds and rainfall as well, but luckily it looks like the majority of the time it is going to be out in the sea. You can see it is affecting some eastern Caribbean islands at the moment, but it is going to veer northwards and hopefully evade the rest of the Caribbean. But you can see it heads northwards, and you can see the track does get very uncertain as we head towards the end of the week. And it's into next week where it could get caught up in a jet stream just to the northeast of the United States, and that's where it could head our way. So I just wanted to show you this to show the immediate forecast from the NHC, the experts on this, to see where they think the storm is going. And now we'll have a look at the raw model data to see where the storm's going on these longer range runs into next week and the following week. Now, do start on the GFS. You can see westerly winds over the coming days expected. You can see some brief high pressure in the south, and that's going to give dry conditions through the weekend, but nothing terribly warm with still a westerly flow. And then you can see tropical storm Ernesto or Hurricane Ernesto. Again, it's not officially hurricane yet, but that's the forecast. But by this point, it'll be weakening into more of a tropical depression and then a next tropical system as it heads into the North Atlantic. Now here, it's heading straight to the UK, getting caught up in the jet stream, and it could get pretty severe. Nowhere near as severe as the Eastern Blue F was showing yesterday, but still could be very lively, very strong winds. And another notable feature we get with these hurricanes is very warm push of air. Not the hottest air I've ever seen with an ex-tropical system, but still very warm air getting pushed our way, for eventually it does move to our north and we stay in the westerly regime. So to be honest, it doesn't have major impacts, but it does bring a spell of slightly windier, wetter and more unsettled conditions, at least compared to what we're seeing at the moment. So again, have to keep an eye on it. We're going to see lots of chopping and changing between the runs. GFS brings it in. It does just about hit our west coast before starting to veer northwards and kind of filling in by that point. If you have a look at the latest GM, again, westerly flow at the moment, we do start to see Ernesto heading out of the north of America into next week. Not quite as severe as the GFS, and you can see that doesn't carry on towards day 10. So it's not quite as severe moving out of northeast United States, but it turns a lot more severe through the North Atlantic, and it arrives as a really quite lively system towards day 10. Now, luckily, similar to the GFS, the high pressure we have across Europe steers it slightly further northwards as we get, as it approaches our shores. You see this from the 300 HPA temperatures. It's straight westerly, and then it veers slightly northerly with this slight dip and rise in the jet stream. Essentially, the darker blues, the low wind speeds across Europe are pushing it, keeping it away. That high pressure is stopping it moving in. So luckily, that means that we don't get a massive cross-country hit. Instead, it kind of moves into the west and then veers northwards. So unfortunately, from the west coast of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, you probably would still see the very strong winds. But if you're towards eastern England, you might not see anything at all in this sort of pattern. Regardless, though, it's a very lively system. You can see that from the wind gusts and speeds here. It would be, pretty mean indeed. And we'll have to keep a very, very close eye on this. As I said, it could be pretty severe indeed if this does move in like this, especially for western areas. Now, if you look at the Eastern Blue F again, yesterday this was really severe. It was even more severe than that GEM run, getting down to kind of 950 millibars, which would be severe in winter time when we expect deeper lows. Now, we can see today, again, westerly flow. That system exits out of northeast Canada. It's a bit further eastwards, not impacting the northeast of Canada or eastern coast of the United States here. And as it heads our way, it weakens significantly into nothing. That low that is to the north is born to the northern edge of it, so it might have some association, but if we're being completely honest, it's pretty much nothing. And towards day 10, we keep a westerly flow. So we've kind of got three contrasting runs. Eastern Blue F pushing it our way, it kind of disintegrating away, and it kind of fuels another low, but not an ex-tropical low, more of a typical Atlantic low, where yes, it's still strong, but it's not got a massive hot core. There's still some warm air associated with it, but not a massive hot core. It's got a classic warm and cold sector, and then we've got the GFS, which is kind of in between, and then we've got the GM, which goes a real big whammy towards the west coast. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, again, we're not expecting to see anything too major on these ensembles yet for that system, as there is so much unpredictability. But you can see generally over the next couple of weeks, generally temperatures around average for the time of year, coming well above at times, well below at times. Again, I think we're going to be chopping and changing. Some days we get towards the high 20s again. Some days with rain and cloud around, especially in the west, maybe high teens at best. Precipitation definitely up and down. Again, we're looking at London here, so it's always going to be lower, further away from those Atlantic systems. And if we do have a look at Glasgow, for example, a lot more higher precipitation, but it's not completely overwhelming. There are breaks, so there should be some dry days here or there. And if we do finally compare to the ECMWF ensembles, again, up and down, more probably above average than below average, so a little bit warmer than the GFS. And you see generally precipitation spikes are there, but not overwhelming either. So you can see the next sort of 5 days, generally around average or slightly above average. Precipitation around in the west, but nothing too crazy, but still generally warm, pleasant conditions, humid at times in the next couple of days. But yeah, not too bad for summer if you enjoy warm, but nothing too oppressive. As we enter the next week and the following week, that's where things, as I said, could get a bit more complicated with ex-tropical system Ernesto. Again, very, very difficult to forecast this exact track. But you see today, 3 models all got different outcomes. One very severe, one kind of moderate, and one really nothing at all. We'll have to wait and see how it does play out. But for the time being, just make sure you keep up to date with the forecast. As I said, could be very unseasonably windy and stormy if that did come off. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.